Is last night's men's game just another wait and see as we get players healthy, or is it a real cause for concern? You're on the Hoop Scout.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah. UConn, baby. Home of the champions. Let's go.
All right. Let me just talk this out. Because honestly, I wasn't in the best mood last night. And when I'm in that kind of a mood, I can get overly critical. I know that. I'm self-aware. I'm aware if I'm being an asshole or if I'm doing something that I shouldn't. But the whole "we'll be fine," the thing UConn fans keep saying online, or, well, it was just Bryant. I'd be disinterested if I was playing too. It's like, well, I'm really glad you're not playing. And that's not directed at anyone in particular. That's just the entire sentiment of the people that came at me online last night. I felt like, yeah, was I overly critical? 1,000%. But I also feel like you're kind of wearing a mask, a shield a little bit, a way to avoid admitting the truth, which is the expectations of this team may be too much from players who haven't really played at this level, both from transfer portal to guys who haven't even set foot on the court right now. And that's the Braylon Mullins, who hasn't played a college game yet. And getting everyone back, right? That doesn't guarantee a damn thing. We saw how good the team can be with Terrace. Does he ever play those type of minutes consistently? Or are we going to have, 2 or 3 games in, a couple games out? Like, I really hope that's not the case, but this season is short. This isn't the NBA. We're not going to be talking about UConn basketball in July. Maybe the upcoming season, but not, meaningful stuff. We're going to blink, and then all of a sudden we're going to be like, oh, is UConn a 2 seed? Hopefully they're an undisputed 1 seed, but, maybe they're a 3 seed. Let's get Evan Mee on to talk about. Let's get Rocco Miller on to talk about where they probably should be properly seated, right? And for the record, while we're talking about that, I'm going to do a larger aspect of this on the Big East Energy Weekly show. The whole Big East is dead. That was premature. So I can see things both ways. So, like, when you have an alarmist mentality, it can age like milk. And I really see the thing about me is, when it comes to UConn, if I have a feeling and it doesn't come to fruition, I don't beat a dead horse. Like, I'm going to wait and kind of see what happens. But I was on the other side of the Big East stuff because I don't necessarily think the Big East is like really good this year, but I don't think they're as bad as everyone thinks. And, Butler just basically won a preseason tournament, beating SEC and ACC teams. Xavier almost beat Georgia, probably should have, then crushed a Big 12 team in West Virginia. It just takes time. Like, all those teams have new players. And with UConn, you could say the same thing, but that's just not something that's true, because we have a lot of the players that we have. Our production is there from last season, and we've added some stuff. So time really isn't a luxury that any college basketball team has. UConn doesn't have it. St. John's doesn't have it. So getting out of the gates early, I'm not saying I want them to peak in November. We're joking around with Arizona. Arizona, we're the best team ever. Well, cool. Let's see if that holds on for the rest of the year. But people love the idea of cohesion and returning guys, continuity. But last night, it didn't feel like continuity. Let's just kind of go over it. Silas was good. He wasn't great. And listen, a triple-double is phenomenal, but it was the quietest triple-double you'll ever see. And maybe Dan is right in his press conference. If his compatriots, if his teammates come to play, he has like 17 points as he missed some bunnies, but that's on him. He'd have probably 14 assists, and then he'd have his 10 rebounds, and then it would look entirely different, right? That I agree with 1,000%. But the reality is he had 10, 10, and 10, and when you're the point guard of a team, I don't care if you just got there or if you've been there for 10 years. Grab your fucking players by the jersey and say, hey, let's go. Stop sleepwalking. That's what I want from Silas. I don't want him to, blow a gasket in his own way, whatever that is, whether that's soft spoken, whether that's just taking a guy to the side and being like, hey, man, we got to step up and figure this out. That's what a point guard is. That's what the floor general does. Eric was great. 16-6. We'll love to see him finish a few more, but there's not a ton of complaints there from a freshman that's getting valuable minutes without Terrace there. But where's the 17-10 performance from Alex in a game like this against Bryant? I love Alex. I think he is 1,000% just such an incredible complimentary player. But in a game like this, where you can just feel the energy just being zapped out of the arena, this is a game where you want him to bang it down low and, overpower some of these kids. I just expect more from him. And the Jays. Jay Stu started well, kind of like he normally does. Gave you a little something early. But this was a perfect night for him to be a 15-7 rebound guy. And he wasn't. 8 points, a couple of rebounds. It is what it is. Ho-hum, right? Jay Ross, thought he had a crazy effort. Loved his energy. But he's, one of the few guys that looked alive out there. Still fouls too much. I mean, as a team, we foul too much. I joked around. I said, we foul like a middle school JV team. Bryant was 20 of 22 from the free throw line. They were in the double bonus for most of the second half. And we were not. Just to give you a frame of reference. Solo, man, has he disappeared, man? Shooting slump is tough. And as Hurley said, usually that means a heater is around the corner. Maybe that's true. I hope so. As I always say, shoot. Shoot 23s, bro. I don't care. Shoot your way out of the slump. But I wonder if that feels like an I hope sentiment more than kind of a point of fact. But over time, he's 100% right. We'll find out very soon. It's about the confidence of, can you shoot yourself out of a slump, or are you completely just in it for the long haul? Have you, knob blocked yourself? If you're not familiar with that, yips. Like, do you have the inability to do something that you did constantly over and over again, and all of a sudden you can't do it? I don't know. That's the scary part. We're relying on unknowns heading into some brutal stretches in a conference schedule that's not going to be doing us any favors. I don't care what anyone says about the Big East. Once we get into Big East play, it's game on. And if this team can't shoot, they can't get where they want to go. Big East title, Final Four, national title. Last night looked like a team that wins one game in March. Similar to, and maybe scares someone in the second round, like a higher seeded team. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, it should, because that's what last team's year was. But the bones are there. Terrace showed his flashes in the BYU was proof of concept. And yes, I am hyped for my guy, Teen Wolf, Braylon Mullins, a.k.a. Mullins Mania, all of that. But the longer this goes, the more weight we're putting on him to save the season. Same things we did with Liam. And it's not even just Braylon, but the longer that he sits and Terrace is kind of in that, game time decision stuff, those are tough ones to kind of just all of a sudden kind of thrust them into the mix. This team is bigger, stronger, and cleaner with the ball, but those same issues keep popping up. Where are the off-script plays? That's what we heard last year. We're bringing guys in so that we don't have to rely on the system every single time. Why are guys scared to shoot when defenders go under screens? And listen, I love Silas. There's a t-shirt that we're selling now, in Silas We Trust, because I think he's a breath of fresh air. But he's not T-new, not yet. And not until he realizes this team is begging for an alpha to take the reins and rev this thing up like a well-oiled machine. I will say, I need a shout out to Dan Hurley. He walked into that presser lighter, calmer, honestly, in a better mood than I was. And that's all that matters, because I take my cues from him. I said it last night. If the coach is happy with what's going on, it's like water off a duck's back for me. But he did tell us weeks ago, Coach Hurley said this.
Too much is given, much is expected. You know, we invest a lot in these players to come out and perform to their absolute maximum and give everything they got. I mean, these players are very well resourced. I think they owe it to the university, they owe it to each other, they owe it to the coaching staff, they owe it to the fan base, they owe it to the donor, they owe it to a lot of people to go out and play on game night and practice every day to the absolute max for all the resources that are invested in them. So
if I was in the press conference last night, which I wasn't, and I'm sure everyone in that press conference is happy that I wasn't. And I'm not trying to be a disruptor. I'm just not. I'm a fan. I love this team. I'm trying to put out a good product. But my problem with not Dan, but when we get these comments from him, and then we watched the game last night, I couldn't be the only person that remembers this statement. And remember, I take my cues from him. If he never says this, I probably don't feel the way I did Monday night after the game. Because last night, without Terrace, it felt like a group of disinterested college kids. And yeah, they are college kids. I get that. But they're also semi-professional athletes now. Paid well. Much better than most people that watch this show. If you watch this show and you make over $500,000, thank God. Good for you, and I appreciate it. Sponsor the show. But for the most part, you make less than that. You make less in a year than what these kids will make in 8 months. Maybe you probably make less than your life than what these kids make in 8 months, especially if you're one of the better kids, the well-resourced kids. So you expect them to perform against Bryant or Arizona. It doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter. Because if you gave me $200, not $200,000, to go play someone in my neighborhood one-on-one in my driveway, I'm going to try to destroy them every possession because I'm a competitive SOB. And these are the types of people that I believe that Dan wants to bring into his program. The fire wasn't there. And maybe that's what bothered me the most because I grew up on Calhoun's intensity. Even kept KO in his Hungry Huskies, an extension of Calhoun's recruitment, right? Hurley's early growing pains. I didn't care because those teams fought their asses off. And look, it's not an indictment on Dan or the program, so spare me the, why are you shitting on Hurley? I'm not. I think Dan is, I think he's the best coach in the business. And I think he's almost too trusting of the media in the respect of how much he gives when I think sometimes he gives almost too many answers. I just think if the head coach is calm, confident, believes in the direction, then I'm good too. That's kind of the end of this story, which is after all of the rant and all of the thinking through this, the bottom line is if the coaching staff is good, we as a staff should be good. But it's not as if we can't question certain things because we're 6 games in. And for everyone saying it's early, we're figuring out, sure. But if this team's headed to a Final Four, we're already 16% through the season. And as the great Yogi Berra once said, it's getting late early. So that's it for today. Hope you have a great Thanksgiving. We'll see you at the end of the week. And we'll talk Illinois basketball against our Huskies. Hope you have a great turkey, ham, tenderloin, whatever you make on Thanksgiving. And we'll see you next time on the Hoop Scout.
Let's get it, let's get it. Let's get it, let's get it. Yeah. UConn, baby.